Nepal, a small yet historically significant country nestled in the Himalayas, boasts a rich history that spans centuries. Its unique geography, sandwiched between the powerful civilizations of India and Tibet, has contributed to its distinct cultural and political development. Known for its majestic mountains, including Mount Everest, Nepal has evolved from ancient tribal societies into a unified kingdom, experienced centuries of monarchy, and eventually transformed into a federal democratic republic in the 21st century. Nepal's history is intertwined with religion, cultural diversity, and its strategic role in regional politics. Early history. Prehistoric Nepal and ancient civilizations. Prehistoric and early inhabitants. Archaeological evidence suggests that Nepal has been inhabited since prehistoric times. The earliest known groups to settle in the region were the Karatas, a Tibeto-Burman ethnic group who dominated the eastern part of Nepal. They were skilled in agriculture and hunting and are believed to have established some of the first organized communities in the Kathmandu Valley. The Newar people, who were instrumental in shaping the early culture and civilization of Nepal, are thought to be descendants of these early inhabitants. The Licchavi period, 400–750 CE. The history of Nepal as a distinct political entity begins with the Licchavi dynasty, which rose to power around the 4th century CE. The Licchavis were a dynasty of Indian origin who established a stable and prosperous kingdom in the Kathmandu Valley. This period is considered a golden age in Nepal's early history, marked by the development of art, architecture, and religion. The Licchavi rulers were devout Hindus, but they also promoted Buddhism, which had a strong influence on Nepal's culture. One of the most significant developments during the Licchavi period was the construction of religious monuments, including stupas and temples, many of which still stand today. The famous Changu Narayan Temple, built in the 5th century, is one of the oldest Hindu temples in Nepal and is a testament to the architectural and religious significance of the era. The rise of Buddhism. Buddhism has deep roots in Nepal, as Siddhartha Gautama, who later became the Buddha, was born in Lumbini in southern Nepal around 563 BCE. Although Hinduism was the dominant religion during the Licchavi period, Buddhism flourished alongside it. The Kathmandu Valley, in particular, became a center for Buddhist learning and pilgrimage, attracting scholars and travelers from across Asia. Medieval Nepal. The Malla dynasty and cultural flourishing. The Malla period, 1200 to 1768, following the decline of the Licchavi dynasty, Nepal entered a period of political fragmentation. In the early 13th century, the Malla dynasty emerged as a dominant force, and under their rule, Nepal experienced significant cultural and architectural advancements. The Mallas were known for their patronage of the arts, and their reign saw the construction of many of the pagoda-style temples and palaces that still define the architecture of the Kathmandu Valley. During this time, the Kathmandu Valley was divided into 3 major city-states: Kathmandu, Patan, and Bhaktapur. Each city was ruled by a different branch of the Malla family, and they competed with each other in terms of cultural and architectural achievements. This rivalry led to a flourishing of the arts, with each city trying to outdo the others in the construction of temples, palaces, and public works. The Mallas were devout Hindus, and much of the architecture from this period reflects Hindu religious themes. However, they were also tolerant of Buddhism, which continued to thrive in the region. The famous Swayambhunath Stupa, also known as the Monkey Temple, and Buddhanath Stupa, both important Buddhist sites, were built or renovated during the Malla period. Trade and diplomacy with Tibet and India. Nepal's strategic location along the trade routes between India and Tibet made it an important commercial and diplomatic center during the Malla period. The Mallas maintained strong trade relations with Tibet, exporting goods such as wool, salt, and grains. In return, Nepal imported luxury items, including gold, silver, and silks. The trade routes also facilitated cultural and religious exchanges, further enhancing Nepal's significance as a center of Buddhist learning. The Mallas also had close diplomatic and trade ties with India, particularly with the powerful Mughal Empire. These interactions brought new artistic and architectural influences to Nepal, as seen in the intricate woodwork and metalwork that became characteristic of Malla-era temples and palaces. The unification of Nepal. The Shah dynasty. Prithvi Narayan Shah and the Unification Campaign, 1743 to 1775. By the mid-18th century, the Kathmandu Valley's wealth and cultural significance made it a target for the ambitious ruler of the small kingdom of Gorkha, Prithvi Narayan Shah. Determined to unify the fragmented kingdoms of Nepal under a single ruler, Prithvi Narayan Shah embarked on a series of military campaigns. His strategic use of diplomacy and alliances, along with military prowess, allowed him to gradually conquer the various principalities in and around the Kathmandu Valley. In 1768, Prithvi Narayan Shah captured Kathmandu, marking the beginning of the Shah dynasty and the unification of Nepal. His vision of a unified Nepal laid the foundation for the modern state. Prithvi Narayan Shah is regarded as a national hero in Nepal, and his efforts are commemorated in various cultural and historical traditions. Expansion and consolidation. After Prithvi Narayan Shah's death in 1775, his successors continued his policy of expansion. By the early 19th century, Nepal had extended its territory to include much of present-day Nepal, as well as parts of Sikkim, Kumaon, and Garhwal in northern India. However, the kingdom's expansion brought it into conflict with the British East India Company, which was steadily consolidating its control over the Indian subcontinent. The Anglo-Nepalese War and the Treaty of Sugauli, 1814–1816. The growing tensions between Nepal and the British East India Company culminated in the Anglo-Nepalese War, 1814–1816. Despite fierce resistance from the Nepalese army, the British forces, equipped with superior military technology, eventually gained the upper hand. The war ended with the signing of the Treaty of Sugauli in 1816, which forced Nepal to cede significant territory to the British, including parts of Sikkim and Darjeeling. Although the treaty was a setback for Nepal, the country managed to retain its independence, unlike many of its neighbors who were colonized by the British. Nepal's ability to remain sovereign, even after its defeat, can be attributed to its strategic location as a buffer state between British India and Tibet. Rana rule and political turmoil. The rise of the Rana dynasty, 1846–1951. In 1846, Nepal experienced a dramatic shift in its political landscape with the rise of the Rana dynasty. Following a violent coup known as the Kot Massacre, young Bahadur Rana seized control of the government, relegating the Shah monarchs to figurehead status. The Ranas established a hereditary prime ministership, effectively ruling Nepal as autocrats for over a century. Under Rana rule, Nepal was isolated from much of the outside world, and political power remained concentrated within a small elite. The Ranas pursued a policy of close relations with the British, providing troops for the British Indian Army during the Indian Rebellion of 1857 and World War I. However, the Rana regime was marked by widespread corruption and oppression, leading to growing discontent among the Nepalese people. By the early 20th century, calls for reform and modernization began to emerge, particularly among Nepalese intellectuals and expatriates living in India. The fall of the Rana dynasty and the restoration of the Shah monarchy in the aftermath of World War II, global movements for decolonization and democracy inspired political changes in Nepal. In 1950, a popular revolution, supported by King Tribhuvan and pro-democracy forces, overthrew the Rana regime. In 1951, King Tribhuvan was restored to the throne, and Nepal embarked on a period of political modernization and reform. The Ranas were stripped of their political power, and a constitutional monarchy was established. The path to democracy in modern Nepal. The Panchayat era, 1960–1990. Despite initial promises of democracy, King Mahendra, who succeeded King Tribhuvan, dissolved the newly formed democratic government in 1960 and introduced the Panchayat system, a partyless political system that concentrated power in the monarchy. Under the Panchayat system, political parties were banned, and the king retained control over the government. While the Panchayat system brought some degree of stability, it was widely criticized for its authoritarian nature and lack of political freedoms. By the late 1980s, economic difficulties and growing demands for democracy led to widespread protests. The 1990 People's Movement and Constitutional Monarchy. In 1990, a popular pro-democracy movement known as the Jana Andolan, People's Movement, forced King Birendra to accept constitutional reforms. The 1990 Constitution reintroduced multi-party democracy and limited the powers of the monarchy, establishing Nepal as a constitutional monarchy. The Nepalese Civil War and the abolition of the monarchy. The Maoist insurgency, 1996–2006. In 1996, a Maoist insurgency, led by the Communist Party of Nepal, Maoist, erupted in rural Nepal. The insurgents sought to overthrow the monarchy and establish a socialist republic. The conflict, known as the Nepalese Civil War, lasted for a decade and claimed over 17,000 lives. The Civil War, combined with political instability in Kathmandu, culminated in the royal massacre of 2001, in which King Birendra and several members of the royal family were killed. The massacre led to the ascension of King Gyanendra, who attempted to consolidate power but faced widespread opposition. The 2006 revolution and the end of the monarchy in 2006, a second popular movement, known as the Loktantra Andolan, democracy movement, forced King Gyanendra to relinquish his power. In 2008, Nepal officially became a federal democratic republic, and the monarchy was abolished, ending over 2 centuries of royal rule. Modern Nepal. Challenges and progress. Since the abolition of the monarchy, Nepal has faced numerous challenges, including political instability, economic difficulties, and the aftermath of the 2015 earthquake that devastated large parts of the country. However, Nepal has made progress in consolidating its democracy, with the adoption of a new constitution in 2015 that established Nepal as a secular, federal republic. Today, Nepal continues to navigate its path towards stability and development while preserving its rich cultural heritage and historical legacy.